My son-in-law threw my belongings into the garage and moved his father into my room. He regretted it. The time had come to show them who really held the power. It was 4:17 on a Wednesday afternoon when I pulled into the driveway. My lower back ached from 3 weeks of hospital chairs and my sister's lumpy guest bed. The March sky over Portland was gray, threatening rain but mercifully holding off. On my way back, I'd stopped at a toy store in Olympia, the one with the little wooden trains in the window. Emma, my granddaughter, was learning her colors. Marcus couldn't get enough of anything with wheels. They'd loved these gifts. Beside the toys on the passenger seat sat an envelope with $3,000 in cash, money I'd withdrawn before leaving for Seattle. I'd been setting it aside for Jennifer's roof repair. The shingles had started curling on the south side, and she'd mentioned worrying about leaks. That's what fathers do, we fix things. We provide. I tucked the envelope into my jacket pocket, grabbed the gift bags, and pulled my travel duffel from the trunk. My knees protested as I straightened up. 64 years of life adds up. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open and called out, "I'm home!" Silence. Not the peaceful kind that welcomes you, but the thick, heavy kind that waits. Jennifer's keys were in the bowl. Kevin's jacket hung on the hook. They were home. I moved down the hall toward the bedrooms, planning to drop my duffel in my room and maybe lie down before dinner. But the master bedroom door was closed, unusual. Behind it, I heard low, comfortable voices. Instead of knocking, I turned toward the garage. I'd stash my things there first, let them finish their conversation. When I flipped the garage light on, I froze. Cardboard boxes lined the walls, dozens of them, stacked and labeled in Jennifer's handwriting, Marural. Clothes. Marural. Books. Marural. Personal items. I moved closer and felt my stomach drop. Inside one box were my framed photographs. Jennifer's kindergarten picture, my wedding photo, my parents' anniversary portrait, all stacked carelessly, bubble wrap shoved between them. Jennifer's photo had a crack across the glass, a diagonal split running right through her smiling face. I didn't remember dropping my duffel. I just stood there staring at my life boxed up like inventory. Then came the voice. "You're back." Kevin stood in the doorway, arms crossed, blocking the entrance. No smile, no explanation. "What is this?" I asked. My voice was calmer than I felt. "Jennifer, what's going on?" She appeared behind him, avoiding my eyes. Her fingers twisted her wedding ring again and again. "Dad, we need to talk." "I'll handle this," Kevin interrupted, stepping forward like he owned the place. "Handle what?" "These are my things." "This is my house," he tilted his head. "Was your house." For a second, I thought I'd misheard. "My father needed a place," Kevin said evenly. "The master bedroom has the best space," I blinked. "You packed up my life because I was gone 3 weeks taking care of my sister?" Kevin shrugged. "You weren't using it." "We made a practical decision," I turned to Jennifer. "Please tell me you didn't agree to this." Her voice barely rose above a whisper. "Kevin handles the house decisions now." Kevin smiled. Not the kind that shows warmth, but the kind that enjoys control. New rules for a new situation. Then a voice drifted from the hallway, deeper, older. Harold, Kevin's father. He appeared wearing my bathrobe. My bathrobe. He looked at me, smirked, and walked back toward the master bedroom without a word. Kevin's tone didn't waver. "He needs comfort. 65 back problems. That room makes sense for him." I reached into my jacket, pulled out the envelope, and held it toward Jennifer. "I brought money for the roof. $3,000 I saved." Kevin took it before she could move. Didn't open it. Didn't thank me. Just pocketed it like spare change. "Good, we'll need that," he said. "The garage has electricity. You'll be comfortable enough out there." Then he walked away. Jennifer followed. Neither looked back. The door closed. I stood there among the boxes containing everything I owned in the garage of the house I'd paid off 15 years ago. From inside, I heard the television turn on. Laughter. Harold's voice loud and satisfied. I looked at Jennifer's cracked photo again, ran my thumb across the broken glass. The damage hadn't been there before. Someone had been careless. My jaw ached from clenching. I needed answers. When I confronted them in the living room, the conversation lasted less than 3 minutes. Kevin sat on the couch, Jennifer curled in the armchair, and Harold held the remote like a king with his scepter. I demanded an explanation. Kevin gave one. The decision is final. I turned to Jennifer. Look at me. Speak to me. She stared at the carpet. Harold chuckled. I went back to the garage. The boxes felt heavier now, not because of what was inside mine, but because of what they meant. I found my old sleeping bag, the one Jennifer and I used when we camped at Crater Lake years ago. She'd fallen asleep on my shoulder under a sky full of shooting stars. I unrolled it on the concrete floor and switched on the small garage heater. It hummed weakly, lukewarm air against the cold night. Through the wall I could hear them: television, laughter, footsteps. The creak of bed springs, my family living comfortably in my house while I slept on the floor. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I thought about numbers: 30 years of mortgage payments, property taxes, repairs, every dollar spent keeping this place standing, my name on every document. By morning, I'd made up my mind. I opened the box labeled important papers. There it was: the deed, the mortgage satisfaction letter, utility bills, all in my name. Jennifer's name appeared nowhere. I'd once thought about adding her every year around tax season. But Kevin had always struck me as careless and impulsive. Maybe deep down I knew better. At dawn I heard laughter again from the bedroom. Harold's laugh, loud, obnoxious, comfortable. That was the moment I decided something had to change. When I walked into the kitchen later, Harold was sitting at my dining table, in my chair, wearing a new bathrobe. Jennifer stood at the stove making breakfast. "More coffee, dear," Harold said without even looking at her. She poured it instantly. Then he saw me. "Well, look who decided to join us. Sleep well out there?" I ignored him. "Jennifer, I need to talk to you." "She's busy," Harold said smoothly. "Family breakfast time." Kevin came down the stairs, kissed Jennifer's cheek, and sat beside Harold like they were two kings sharing a throne. I stood there, barely controlling my voice. "This is my house. I bought it 30 years ago. My name is on every document," Kevin smiled. "And Jennifer is your daughter. What's yours is hers. What's hers is mine. That's how marriage works." Harold chuckled. "Someone sounds upset about the new arrangement." "Jennifer," I said quietly, "look at me. Tell me you think this is right." She hesitated, then whispered, "Kevin knows what's best for our family. His father needs care. You travel anyway." I stared at her, realizing how far gone she was. Harold leaned back. "You can stay in the garage, boarder, as long as you follow house rules." Kevin's rules. That word, boarder, hung in the air like a slap. I turned and left, closed the door softly. No need for drama. The documents were still on the crate. I sat down, looked at them, then at the house through the window. They thought I was weak, that I'd accept it, but they'd forgotten something important. I built this life from nothing. I'd spent 40 years learning how structures work, how to find weaknesses, how to dismantle something without making it collapse. Until you want it to. I picked up my phone, hovered over a contact name, and not yet. First, I needed to know the full scope of what they'd done. Every move they made while I was gone. Then I'd start making calls. The garage didn't feel like exile anymore. It felt like a staging ground. As I packed my duffel into the car, Kevin came outside. He just stood there watching. "I'm heading to a motel," I told him. "Give you folks some space." He smiled faintly, relief pretending to be concerned. Probably for the best. Less tension for everyone, especially the grandkids. Jennifer appeared in her robe, following me to the car. "Dad, you understand, don't you? Kevin's father has health issues." I looked at her, the daughter I'd raised, protected, sacrificed everything for, and said nothing, because she was about to learn exactly who she'd underestimated. I loaded the last bag without looking at her. "I understand everything now," I said. "I knew you would." "You're always so reasonable," she replied. Reasonable, the word tasted bitter. I'd been reasonable for 64 years. Reasonable when her mother died and I raised her alone. Reasonable when Kevin lost his third job and I paid their mortgage for 6 months. Reasonable when they moved in temporarily 5 years ago, and that temporary stay turned into permanence. As I drove away, I saw them in the rearview mirror, Kevin's arm draped around Jennifer's shoulders. Both looked relaxed, victorious. The motel on 82nd Avenue wasn't much to look at. The carpet was older than my grandchildren, the air conditioner wheezed, and the parking lot was cracked. But the weekly rate was fair, and the clerk didn't ask questions when I said I'd be staying for a while. In room 217, I spread my documents across the narrow desk. The house deed looked smaller now, less impressive on the cheap laminate than it had in my memory. But the words were clear: sole owner, Merle Andrew Bell. Purchase date, April 12, 1995. 30 years ago, I'd been 34. Jennifer was 6. My wife was still alive. At the bottom of my old document box sat my cracked leather wallet. I opened it out of habit, not hope. Behind an expired Costco card and a photo of Jennifer at her high school graduation, I found it. A small brass key with a paper tag. My safe deposit box key. Wells Fargo downtown still had the same marble floors I remembered. The security was tighter now, more cameras, more forms, younger employees, but the vault hadn't changed. Haven't seen you in a while, Mr. Bell. Everything okay? The clerk asked. Just reviewing some documents, I said. Making sure everything's in order. Smart. You'd be surprised how many people lose important papers. I'm not planning to lose anything, I replied. Inside the box were the originals, the house deed, title insurance, and mortgage satisfaction letter from 2018. I remembered the day I made that final payment, the weight of 30 years finally lifting. I'd taken Jennifer and the kids out to dinner to celebrate. Kevin hadn't come, some work obligation. At a FedEx office on Burnside, I laid everything out under bright lights: deed, title, mortgage certificate, utility bills in my name, bank statements showing every payment from my account. The clerk glanced over the stack. That's a lot of documentation. Legal matter, I said. Property, he asked. Family property. Hope it works out for you, he said as the printer spat out warm, certified copies. Back at the motel, I created order from chaos. Originals in one pile, copies in another, handwritten notes in a third. Then I built a timeline. April 1995, bought the house. September 2012, Jennifer married Kevin. March 2018, final mortgage payment made. January 2020, they moved in temporarily. March 2025, my belongings moved to the garage. Harold took my bedroom. The dates told a story. I'd owned the house free and clear for 7 years before they ever moved in. Nothing about their claim held legal ground. I remembered a conversation with Kevin 2 years ago. He'd been sitting at my kitchen table, a calculator in hand, pages of numbers spread out. With estate taxes, Jennifer could lose 40% of the value, he said. Better to keep it in your name for now, for her protection. Back then I thought he was being prudent. Now I knew better. He wasn't protecting her. He was protecting himself. That night, the glow of my laptop filled the dark motel room as I typed Oregon tenant eviction laws. I read for hours. Lease requirements, notice periods, eviction procedures. I took notes, highlighted sections, learned that they weren't tenants. They were occupants, guests I'd allowed to stay. That changed everything. I labeled a manila folder property evidence, then searched for a real estate attorney. 17 results appeared. Most were too young or too corporate. Then I saw her. Dorothy Clark, Clark & Associates. Early 60s, sharp eyes, silver hair, she hadn't bothered to dye. Her bio said, 30 years specializing in residential property law and family property disputes. I believe in straightforward solutions to complex problems. Family property matters. That phrase hit home. I set my alarm for 7 a.m. For the first time since they'd pushed me out of my own home, I felt the faint weight of sleep settle over me. The next morning, I drove downtown. The building was old, but the brass plate on the door gleamed. Clark & Associates. Inside, the receptionist looked up. Do you have an appointment, sir? No, I said, holding up my folder. But I need to speak with Ms. Clark. It's urgent. A calm voice came from the doorway. I have 15 minutes. Come in. Dorothy Clark was exactly as she looked in her photo, composed, sharp, assessing. Her office was tidy but lived in. A photo of a smiling woman in her 40s sat on the credenza behind her. Tell me the situation, she said. Just facts. Who owns what? Who lives where? When I began to explain, she stopped me gently. Start with the property. When did you acquire it? Is anyone else on the title? I bought it in 1995, paid it off in 2018. It's all in my name. And your daughter lives there now? With her husband, kids, and his father. They moved my things to the garage while I was caring for my sister. She scribbled notes quickly. Do they pay rent? No. Any lease? No. Utilities? I pay them. She looked up, her tone shifting. Then you have perfect legal standing, Mr. Bell. This isn't complicated. But she's my daughter, I said quietly. People will think what they want, she interrupted. What matters is what's right. And what's legal. She gestured to her conference table. Show me what you brought. I laid everything out, deeds, statements, timelines. She examined each one with a precision that left no room for doubt. This is textbook perfect, she said finally. They have no lease, no tenant rights, no legal claim. Oregon allows no cause eviction with proper notice. They've lived there 5 years, so 30 days. She drew a simple diagram on her whiteboard. Step 1, serve a 30-day no-cause eviction notice. Step 2, stop paying utilities if needed. Step 3, court eviction if they resist. Total time, 2 to 3 months at most. What if they try to make me look cruel? I asked. Say I'm kicking out my own grandchildren? Dorothy set down her marker and looked at me. 3 years ago, my son tried to have me declared incompetent. He wanted my law firm, said I couldn't handle contracts anymore. What did you do? I asked. I took him to court, haven't spoken to him since. Any regrets? She held my gaze. Only that I didn't act sooner. Family doesn't mean accepting abuse, Mr. Bell. It means expecting better. And when they can't meet that expectation, it means protecting yourself. How do we start? She pulled out a form. I'll draft the eviction notice today, have it notarized tomorrow, and serve it Monday by certified mail and sheriff's deputy. You pay half now, half when they vacate. After that, no contact. All communication goes through me. I wrote the check. My hand didn't tremble. You're doing the right thing, she said softly. Whatever guilt you're feeling, it's misplaced. As I left her office, the city felt different. The air smelled like rain, and the pavement shimmered under the weight of approaching clouds. My phone buzzed. Jennifer's text lit up the screen. Dad, where are you? The kids want to say hi. I deleted it without responding. Dorothy had said no communication. Back in the motel room, I spread the papers across the desk once more. But this time they didn't look like remnants of a lost life. They looked like proof that I wasn't powerless, proof that I still owned something no one could take. Monday was 3 days away. 72 hours until the notice would arrive, until their comfort cracked and the truth came back home. I ate my dinner slowly that night, savoring every bite, every quiet breath. For the first time in weeks, I slept peacefully. Stephen Wright was supposed to arrive at the house by 10:30. Dorothy had recommended him, a professional notary who specialized in difficult service situations. Foreclosures, restraining orders, bankruptcy notices, she'd told me. Your eviction notice will be easy by comparison. My coffee went cold as I waited. I ordered another cup but couldn't bring myself to drink it. At 10:53, my phone buzzed. Text from Stephen delivered to Kevin Thompson. 10:47 a.m., signed receipt attached. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding my breath. The attachment showed Kevin's signature, hasty, angular, scrawled across the acknowledgement line. Proof of service. Legal confirmation that the 30-day clock had begun. I paid for the untouched coffee and drove back to the motel. What I didn't see, but later learned from Stephen, was Kevin's reaction at the door. He'd answered in sweatpants and a t-shirt, irritated at being interrupted during breakfast. Legal notice for the occupants of this residence, Stephen had said. Kevin laughed. You're kidding. That old man actually think, sign here, please. Stephen cut him off. Kevin signed, still smirking, convinced it meant nothing. Stephen told me he'd heard him read the notice aloud afterward, voice dripping with mockery. 30-day notice to vacate. He's lost his mind, Kevin had said, laughing. That confidence lasted about 4 hours. At 3:15, my phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Bell, this is Dan Richardson. I'm a friend of Kevin Thompson's. He showed me the eviction notice, and it's legitimate, completely legal. I wanted to call and suggest we discuss terms before this goes further. There are no terms, I said. The notice stands. Mr. Bell, I understand you're upset, but I hung up. Kevin showed up at the motel around 7 that evening. I heard him before I saw him. Heavy, deliberate footsteps on the walkway, each one meant to intimidate. He pounded on my door. I opened it but didn't invite him in. We stood face to face in the open doorway where other guests could hear. "Merle, come on. Let's talk about this like adults," he said. "We're past talking. Your daughter, your grandkids, and you'd really throw them out? I'm enforcing my property rights. You have 30 days. His expression shifted. The reasonable mask slipped. You do this, you'll never see those kids again, ever. I kept my voice calm. Then you'll never see the inside of that house after May 2nd. Your choice. My father has health problems. You know this. Then find him appropriate housing. That's not my responsibility." Kevin stepped closer. I didn't move. "Jennifer will hate you for this. She made her choice when she let you pack my belongings without telling me." He stared at me, searching for weakness, finding none. Then he turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. I closed the door and sat on the bed. I waited, knowing what would come next. 90 minutes later, the call arrived. Jennifer's name lit up my phone. "Dad, please," she said, her voice thick with tears. "The kids are asking why Grandpa is making us leave." "Jennifer," I said quietly, "I can hear Kevin coaching you." A pause. Kevin's voice murmured something in the background, not quite a whisper. "Tell him about the school." "Put it on speaker," he said. "Kevin, are you there?" I asked, shuffling. Then his voice, cold, clear. "We're not leaving. Force us out and watch what happens to your reputation." "My reputation is with myself," I said. "I'll see you in 30 days. Someone grabbed the phone. Harold's voice came through, sharp and venomous. "You senile old fool, you think you can—" I hung up mid-sentence. The phone rang again. "Kevin," I didn't answer. It rang again. Declined. A third time. Declined. Then the text arrived. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." I deleted it. Another text from Jennifer. "How could you do this to your own family?" Deleted, then a notification, Facebook. Jennifer had tagged me in a post. I opened the app, something I rarely did. There it was. A photo of Emma and Marcus, both looking down with exaggerated sad expressions. The caption read, "Heartbroken that my children are being forced from their home by their grandfather. Please send prayers." 3 comments already. "So sorry, Jennifer. Praying for you and the babies. Family should support each other, not tear each other apart." I closed the app and stared at the ceiling. Dorothy had warned me this would happen. The public guilt campaign. But seeing it hurt more than I'd expected. My phone rang again. Dorothy this time. "Have you seen Jennifer's post?" she asked. Her voice was calm, not surprised. I could hear the hum of her office in the background. "Just now," I said. "People I've known for years are calling me heartless. You can't win a trial on social media, Merle. Stay silent. How long will this go on?" "Until they realize it's not working. Or until the 30 days are up. Whichever comes first." She was right. I knew she was right. But knowing didn't make it easier. By morning, Jennifer's post had spread like wildfire. 17 comments. Old colleagues from the architecture firm. Neighbors. Even Mrs. Patterson from 3 doors down. This breaks my heart. Those poor babies. Then came a new post. Harold sitting in an armchair looking frail and pitiful. Facing homelessness at 65 with serious health conditions. Where's the compassion? I threw my phone on the bed and walked outside for air. Later that morning, the motel clerk called. "Mr. Bell, there's a certified letter here for you." The envelope read, "Martin Webb, attorney at law." A strip mall address on 122nd Avenue. I opened it in the parking lot. "Dear Mr. Bell, I represent Kevin Thompson, Jennifer Thompson, Harold Thompson, and minors Emma and Marcus Thompson. Your attempt to evict my clients constitutes elder abuse and endangers the welfare of minor children by creating housing instability. Baseless." I knew it was all bluster, but the words still stung. Elder abuse. Endangering minors. I called Dorothy from the car. "It's posturing," she said after I read it to her. "Webb's a small-time lawyer trying to scare you into backing down. The notice stands, but what if? No what ifs. The law is the law." Everything else is noise. I wanted to believe her. Tried to hold on to her certainty. Thursday afternoon, I went out for groceries, just the basics. Bread, milk, coffee, things you can't avoid even when you'd rather hide. Fred Meyer on 82nd was crowded. I'd barely made it to the produce section when I heard a familiar voice. Merle. Mrs. Patterson stood by the bananas, her cart half full. She'd been my neighbor for 20 years. The woman who brought casseroles after my wife died. Who babysat my grandkids. Hello, Nancy, I said. She looked at me, not with kindness this time, but disappointment. I saw what Jennifer posted. Those poor children. There's more to the situation than, I never thought you'd be that kind of grandfather. She turned and walked away. There's always another way, she said over her shoulder. I stood frozen, surrounded by strangers shopping for vegetables, and realized that for them, for all of them, I was now the villain in someone else's story. I left the cart in the aisle and walked out. Back at the motel, a message from Dorothy waited on my phone. Need to talk, not about the case, about you. Coffee tomorrow. I hesitated, typed back, not sure that's necessary. Her reply came instantly. It is. Car's Cafe on Hawthorne near 35th, please, I agreed. Maybe because I was tired. Maybe because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts any longer. The cafe was small and quiet, tucked between a bookstore and a vintage shop. Dorothy was already there, 2 cups of coffee on the table. I ordered yours already, she said. Black, right? How'd you know? You seem like someone who doesn't complicate things unnecessarily. We sat in silence for a while. The coffee was better than anything from the motel. Maybe everyone's right, I said finally. Maybe I am being cruel. Dorothy set down her cup. Tell me something. When your daughter let her husband pack your belongings, was that kind? No. When they gave your bedroom to his father, was that respectful? No. Then why are you the one questioning yourself? I had no answer. Dorothy leaned back, studying me. 3 years ago, my son tried to have me declared incompetent. Said I had dementia, wanted control of my firm, your own son. He needed me legally unfit so he could take everything I'd built. I fought, I won, but I lost him. Do you regret it? She paused. I regret that he forced me to choose, but I don't regret choosing myself. The cafe was warm despite the rain outside. A young couple laughed near the window. Ordinary life continuing. What if I lose everyone? I asked. Then you find new people, she said. Better people. The kind who don't mistake your kindness for weakness. Her hand covered mine. Steady, warm, grounding. They're counting on your guilt, Merle. On your surrender. But that's not peace. That's captivity. Rain streaked the window. Neither of us moved our hands. The notice still stands, I said. It wasn't a question, she replied. We sat like that, fingers intertwined, coffee gone cold. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel alone. 2 weeks into the 30-day notice, Dorothy spread utility bills across her conference table. Electric, water, cable, internet, all in your name, she said. They're living in your house on your dime. Time to turn off the money. Jennifer's Facebook posts had only intensified. Photos of the kids doing homework. Captions about perseverance, injustice, faith. They're not leaving, I said. Then we increase pressure, Dorothy replied. Cable, internet, reduce utilities, all legal. You're the account holder preparing to sell. Companies don't care about family drama. How long will it take? Cable disconnects in 48 hours. Electricity reduction takes about a week. She turned her laptop toward me. You can't shut it off completely, safety regulations. But you can reduce to minimum service, enough for lights in the fridge. No comfort. I thought about Kevin watching sports in my bedroom, Harold dozing in my recliner, Jennifer running the dryer 3 times a day. Do it, I said. I called the cable company first. Reason for disconnection? Property transition. Complete disconnection. The email confirmation came within minutes. The power company was slower. The representative questioned my request. Property is contested, I explained. Reducing to legal minimum until resolved. By evening, I'd received confirmation. Electric reduction effective in 5 business days. I documented everything. Photos of emails, timestamps, account numbers. The precision of an architect turned strategist. Dorothy called later that night. How'd it go? Cable cuts Friday. Power reduces Wednesday. Good. Now the next phase. Have you thought about listing the house? Maybe. Preparing the listing sends a message. Shows you're serious. We met a photographer that Saturday. He took exterior shots while I waited in the car. The house looked beautiful in the afternoon light. The garden I'd planted, the fresh paint, the gutters I'd installed myself. When do you want this to go live? He asked. Not yet, I said. 10 days. Friday afternoon, the internet died. Kevin called within the hour, his voice a mix of panic and rage. What did you do? The internet's dead. I disconnected services on my property. You can't just, the kids need it for school. You have 13 days to find a new place with internet. I suggest you start looking. This is illegal. Cutting off utilities. Check with your attorney, I said calmly. I'm the account holder. He hung up. Later, Jennifer called. I could hear the kids crying in the background, confused, scared. Dad, please, she said. The kids can't do their homework. It was already dark by 6. The lights in the house barely worked. I'd reduced the electricity to the minimum, just enough for the refrigerator and a few bulbs. Anything more, they'd have to pay for themselves. When I told Jennifer that, she went silent for a few seconds before saying quietly but sharply, Mom would be ashamed of you. The words landed like stones in my chest. I'd expected them, even prepared for them, but that didn't make them hurt less. Your mother taught you better than this, Jennifer. She'd be ashamed of how you've treated me. I ended the call before she could respond. 2 days later, Dorothy and I sat in a photographer's office reviewing the pictures of my house. The man had done excellent work. Professional staging, soft lighting, every angle perfect. The place looked like it was worth $20,000 more than its market value. Send them to Kevin, Dorothy said. No words, just the photos. I hesitated for only a moment, then forwarded all 12 images to Kevin's number. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. But no message ever came. Dorothy's hand found mine on the desk. Her fingers were warm and steady. He knows now, she said softly. He knows you mean it. We sat in silence, watching the phone screen that stayed blank. Outside the window, Portland carried on with its normal Tuesday afternoon. Cars passing, people walking their dogs, while I quietly dismantled my life piece by piece. And yet Dorothy's hand on mine felt like the only thing solid in the world. Later, she closed her office door, a rare thing for her. Usually she kept it open during meetings. But this time she sat beside me on the couch, her tone gentle but deliberate. I have a practical solution, she began. About your living situation. She showed me photos on her phone. A small cream-colored house with red shutters, a little garden, tulips still blooming. I have a rental property, she said. It's been empty for a month. Stay there. That's kind, Dorothy, but I can manage the motel. I've been to that motel, she said. It smells like disinfectant and sadness. The house is sitting empty, use it. I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's practical. I can't have my client living in depression when he needs to stay sharp. The next afternoon, she drove me to the house. The place sat on a quiet street, sunlight filtering through maple branches that met overhead. When she opened the door, the light spilled in like a small miracle. Real. Warm sunlight. 2 bedrooms, white-tiled kitchen, hardwood floors that creaked softly beneath my feet, and a garden out back with empty raised beds waiting for new life. This is too much, I said quietly. It's just a house, she replied. Empty houses fall apart. You'll be doing me a favor. I'll pay rent. Fine. Pay me when you sell your place and this nightmare ends. Until then, case expenses. I smiled faintly. That's not how case expenses work. I'm the attorney, she said with a small grin. I decide how they work. We packed up my things from the motel, 2 suitcases, a box of documents, and my laptop bag. Everything I owned fit in her trunk. When we arrived, Dorothy moved through the house as if she already knew where everything belonged. Clothes in the closet, files in the second bedroom, which she said could be my office. Then she opened the refrigerator. Milk, eggs, fresh vegetables, pasta, sauce. You stocked it, I said. I had a feeling you'd say yes eventually. Confident, aren't you? Practical, she replied. Always practical. We cooked dinner together, simple pasta, vegetables, olive oil, laughter. The kind of laughter that sneaks up on you when you've forgotten what it sounds like. The light from the kitchen window caught the silver in her hair as she stirred the sauce. And for the first time in weeks, I realized I was happy. Not distracted, not pretending, genuinely happy. Later that evening, as we ate, she asked about my work as an architect. I asked about her daughter in Boston. The conversation drifted into quiet understanding. 2 people who'd lost family but still believed in rebuilding. When my phone buzzed, I ignored it. It buzzed again, Jennifer. I read the message aloud. Harold and Kevin had a huge fight. The kids are scared. Please reconsider. Dorothy said nothing. She just reached over and held my hand. We washed dishes together in silence. The twilight settled over the garden, the air cool and soft. For the first time in months, I thought about planting something again. At the door, she picked up her keys. Thank you, I said quietly. For everything. She adjusted her coat. You'd do the same. Would I? She looked at me and said, You're someone who helps people. That's why this hurt so much. You were always the one giving and they just took. Something shifted in the air between us. Stay a little longer, I said. She looked down at her keys, then set them on the table. Maybe one more cup of coffee. We drank it standing in the kitchen, fingers brushing when I handed her the mug. Neither of us moved away. Outside, darkness gathered. Inside, something new began. 3 months passed. The case dragged on. Kevin refused to settle, forcing us into court. When the day came, Dorothy looked sharp and calm beside me. Gray suit, glasses tucked into her pocket, briefcase full of evidence. My heart was steady, not because I was unafraid, but because she was there. Jennifer came with the kids. Emma wore a purple dress. Marcus clutched a dinosaur backpack. When he asked Mommy, who's that man? Jennifer's voice broke. Nobody, honey. The word hit me harder than any insult ever could. Inside the courtroom, Dorothy dismantled Kevin's case piece by piece. Documents, dates, payments, proof. Every word was a nail sealing his defeat. The judge ruled swiftly. The property was mine. Kevin and his family had 7 days to vacate. Outside on the courthouse steps, Dorothy took my arm. You won, she said. I looked at her, feeling nothing but quiet exhaustion. Doesn't feel like winning, she nodded. Sometimes protecting yourself is the only victory that matters. 7 days later, I stood in the entryway of my house again. The air smelled old and still. Dorothy arrived behind me with boxes labeled Merle. Books. They'd taken everything personal, their photos, toys, pillows, but they hadn't destroyed anything. Just left silence behind. Then I saw it. A yellow sticky note on the counter. Jennifer's handwriting. Dad, I know this doesn't fix anything, but I was wrong. Kevin pushed and I let him. I forgot who raised me and what you taught me about standing up for what's right. I'm sorry I chose his comfort over your dignity. The kids ask about you. I tell them Grandpa loves them. I hope someday you'll forgive me. Your daughter always, Jay. I folded the note carefully and placed it in my wallet. Dorothy came beside me, setting down a box. It feels empty, I said quietly. Like I won the house but lost the life in it. She looked at me. That life pushed you into a garage. You'll build something better. We unpacked together. Books on shelves, old photos back on the mantel. Every item was a quiet act of healing. That evening, we cooked again. Pasta, just like before. After dinner, we sat on the back deck, wine glasses in hand. The chairs I'd built 20 years ago still stood firm. I've learned something through all this, I said. What's that? That kindness without boundaries is just weakness. That losing people who don't value you isn't really loss. She smiled softly. And what did you gain? I looked at her, silver hair glowing in the fading light. Clarity, strength, you. I was already here, she said. I know, I smiled. That's the best part. The stars began to appear one by one. I should probably go, she said, but didn't move. You could stay. I have a spare bedroom. She laughed quietly. A spare bedroom? I'm old-fashioned. So am I said. We sat there, her hand finding mine. The house behind us was quiet, not empty anymore, alive again. Tomorrow, she said. We'll start hanging the pictures. Make it feel like home. Ours, I corrected gently. She squeezed my hand and didn't argue. In my wallet, Jennifer's note waited, proof that maybe some wounds could still heal. But for now, this was enough. The house was mine again. Dorothy's hand was warm in mine. And for the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving. I was home. Outro for narration. If this story moved you, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that make you think. To listen to the next story, click on the box on your screen. Thank you for watching Silent Revenge.